Oragthung Earthlets, what do Gail Simone, Simon Bisley, and Hayden Sherman have in common? They were all on the 2000 AD panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and on this episode of the 2000 AD Thrillcast, we are transporting you to the sun-drenched and sweat-drenched halls of the San Diego Comic Book Convention for 2000 AD, the galaxy's greatest panel. Well, welcome to another episode of the 2000 AD Thrillcast Earthlit. I am your host, as always, Molch-R. And on this episode, we have a recording of the 2000 AD panel from the San Diego Comic Con last month. I am now 9 days into COVID isolation, having picked up a dose on my way back, hence the slightly unkempt look. So apologies for that. But we have the audio recording of the panel, which features Gail Simone, Simon Bisley, and new 2000 AD, freshly minted 2000 AD droid, Hayden Sherman, who is the artist on the Strontium Dog story that's in the new 2000 AD annual, which is out in November. The audio quality, not great. We've done our best to equalize everything, so apologies if it's slightly difficult to hear. It's very echoey building. And we've got them all kind of lined up in a row, so getting a single recording is hard work, but yeah, the droids have worked their magic and made it sound as good as possible. So we're going to launch into that in a second. Thank you to everyone who came to the booth at San Diego. It was a lot of fun despite the consequences. We are next going to be at Rose City, which is in Portland, Oregon, at the beginning of September, so we're very much looking forward to that one. And then we are at Thought Bubble in Harrogate in November, which is the final convention of the year and always a great favourite. So looking forward to both of those shows. Do come along if you are attending. So we're going to crack on with the recording of the panel from San Diego, the 2000 AD, the galaxy's greatest panel, with Gail Simone, Simon Bisley, and Hayden Sherman. We are ready to go. Welcome, everybody, to the 2000 AD, the galaxy's greatest panel. Wonderful. Thank you all for coming so much to this. We have, I mean, the lineup for this panel is just absolutely incredible. I'm overcome with emotion. I will start down the end. A big round of applause for Hayden Sherman. Really, the man in the middle should need no introduction. It's Simon Bisley. And it's a real joy to welcome to her first 2000 AD panel.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
Gail Simone. So, yeah, we're going to talk about 2000 AD, the galaxy's greatest comic. Hands up in the audience if you are either a 2000 AD reader or picked up one of our graphic novels and know something about 2000 AD. Yeah. Oh, look at that. That's really nice. So, I feel sorry for those of you who didn't raise your hand, but also, what an incredible discovery you're going to have, because we're going to talk about some of literally the galaxy's greatest comics. So, we're going to talk about titles old and titles new and titles still to come. I want to start with talking to Hayden, because this is kind of a difficult concept to get over to America. So you guys have annuals, don't you? Like comic book annuals. But they're a bit different over here, right? They're just like thick, like comic books with lots of pages in. So in Britain, a comic book annual was something you got at Christmas. It was hardcover. It was the most exciting thing that you would get at Christmas, and you would probably pore over it and absolutely ruin it to pieces. There will be crosswords in it. and like maze searches, and back in the day, articles about the Apollo missions for absolutely no discernible reason whatsoever. So it is wonderful for us to be able to, well, we announced this recently, that the 2000 AD annual, after a gap of 30 years, is coming back for this Christmas. And it's going to be a mix of like classic reprint, but also new material. And one of those strips is going to be Strontium Dog, which is the mutant bounty hunter series, originally created by John Wagner and Carlos Esquerra. And it is so wonderful to be able to say that in this annual we're going to have a brand new Strontium Dog story, written by Simon Spurrier and drawn by Hayden. And I have seen the pages, and as I was telling Hayden just now, I'm absolutely blown away because you know, every artist has their own take on classic characters, but it is quite something to see someone channel the spirit of Carlos Esquerra while really kind of leaning into their own style. So it's really wonderful. Hayden, tell us a little bit about your experience of 2000 AD, and if there are any artists that are particular influences on you.
Well, in particular, let's see here, 2000 AD I got introduced to by way of the Star Wars Dark Empire was drawn by Cam Kennedy, which brought me over to find the rest of Cam Kennedy's work, which in particular, I mean, amongst so many artists of 2000 AD that influenced me, Carlos Esquerra, Cam Kennedy, Mick McMahon, and a more organic approach to storytelling in terms of panel design, like page layout and all of these things, creating images that weren't just rectangles meant to like move from point A to point B, but these dramatic and bizarre shapes that would create the story, and they would be a beautiful image in themselves, but also you could break it down into a sequence of events. But of course, a lot of that wasn't very available, and like I grew up in like the middle of nowhere Midwest, and our comic shops weren't particularly well stocked to begin with, and then 2000 AD was hard enough to get then. Probably more easy now, I would hope. And yeah, so I was able to find it through there, and it's been a big influence since.
Cam Kennedy is one of those criminally underappreciated artists.
Yes.
Particularly over here, like say, you know, there's the Star Wars stuff that he did, but even something like the Light and Darkness War that he did in the 90s is just, I mean, it's literally watercolors.
Yeah, and those pages look the same printed and in their like traditional form. They're just, it's a magic trick. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it's amazing. Yeah.
So when the call came from, you all know about Tharg the Mighty. Yeah, Alien Age 2000 AD, yeah. Just in case you think I'm having some kind of nervous breakdown here and imagining people. When the call from Tharg the Mighty came, I mean, was it a shock? Was it something that you immediately went, hell yes, I want to do this?
Well, it came by way of the ambassador that is Cy Spurrier. So that was really nice. A very warm introduction from there. And it was really nice that, I mean, to highlight that Cy had told me before, like, I want to make a Strontium Dog story, and I want you to draw it. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. And at that point, I hadn't familiarized myself with the canon of Strontium Dog, and thankfully, I had the time after that to really dig in and just find what an amazing history there is there. And it's so deep and elaborate, and at times insane and beautiful. And so I was pretty well humbled, I think I could say.
Did you ever see the annual?
Did you ever see the annual?
Yeah.
Like an original...
That's going to be funny, but don't worry about it.
Oh.
I haven't seen the annual. No.
Well, I mean, the wonderful thing about the annuals is that there was variable content. So you'd have the most amazing stories by like Mick McMahon that would just be beautiful, and then you'd have like some random reprint from about 10 years ago from Valiant or you know some where they just got this will do, just stick it in. They're really, if you ever find them, seek them out because they are bizarre artifacts of a lost age. Without spoilers, tell us a little bit about the size story for this.
Oh, well, I mean, it's amazing how much he's able to fit into 10 pages. I'm trying to think. I mean, of course, Strontium Dog, Johnny Alpha, he is after a bounty, but not all is what it seems. And it's only 10 pages. Like, I don't want to give away too much within that short span. But yeah, there's a little colony that's in a dome on a horrible, terrible planet, and he's got a horrible little robot guy that's his cute as could be, but also a bother. And I don't know, I kind of feel like I should leave it there. Cy would do a better job pitching the story than I can.
I can imagine I can probably fill those gaps in. That's interesting, that. I was interested to see the work, actually. Yeah, really am.
Because sometimes one of those things, like I said, loads of people have brought their own particular style to it. But like I said, you manage to I mean, there's a bit of Mobius in there. In fact, there's a lot of Mobius in there. But also, Carlos is just such a hard artist to mirror, to imitate, to riff off, because there's never really been anybody like Carlos before or since. And I've said this on the 2018 podcast an awful lot, that, you know, Mick McMahon has loads of imitators, Brian Bolland obviously, but not Carlos, even though arguably he's the one who set the tone for the whole thing. Tell us a little bit about what your artistic decisions for the script was.
Well, I came amongst, amidst all of the artistic inspirations that I had, I came to Carlos rather late. And by that point that I found his work, I realized, oh, this is the stuff, it's not, I wasn't doing that. I was like, that's what I want to be doing, that's what I'm aiming towards, and this guy did it. He figured it out, whoa.
Yeah, just put a thick outline around everything. And you got Carlos.
And these being able to just anchor a whole page around a circle of a panel and things like that. He works in these really bizarre things that feel psychedelic but still grounded. Yeah, I don't know. So I wasn't really aiming to imitate him so much as channel those bits of him that I felt were already resonating in my work and bring those to the page in a way that I could call my own without trying to imitate him too much. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. We'll move on, but continue the discussion.
Can I ask a quick Mark,
go on,
quick question. Sorry, but were you assigned to the project with drawing like Carlos, or that decision of your own?
No, I wasn't assigned it. I was just told to draw the Stranger Dog story.
I see.
But when I was really looking at a lot of those early stories that he had drawn, I kind of came to the mentality of, this isn't broken, I don't want to fix it.
Oh, I see, okay,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I was like, nobody's doing this, I want to see if I can get close to that.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah. It's a bit like a power with, anyway, I'm going to talk about Batman, don't worry about it. Sorry, Mike, there you go.
You can talk about Batman if you want.
I was just saying, it's the same thing with Jim Apparell's version of basically Neil Adams' Batman. But then it became his own, went up his own way in the end. Because something's so good, why would you want to change it? Yeah. You know, I mean, to a degree of points. It's like a homage, isn't it, to someone previously, yeah. Oh, it's very good. It's a great attitude to have.
Yeah, it's difficult though, because, you know, in American comics, you can expect to have a run of several issues.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you say, you've got 10 pages.
It's a skill, man. I think it really is a skill, right? It takes a lot. I mean, not just being a bit of a draw. You got to work it out. Then you have to do it at lightning speed. You know, I mean, you really do. I mean, it takes a genius. I think a comic book artist is very highly underrated individuals. I think some of the best artists in the world are actually comic book artists. To be honest with you, I do think so.
Yeah.
Well, Michelangelo was a comic book artist at the CC Chapel as a comic. It could be slain to give him an axe. Just give Jesus an axe.
Perfect. Talking about slaying. We'll talk about slaying.
And a kilt.
That was my error. I let him talk about Batman for too long.
No, talk about slaying.
We'll talk about slaying. So, if you've not seen this or picked it up, this is the anniversary edition of Slaying the Horn Guard. Unfortunately, the art for the Horn God is cast to the four winds, so we'll never be able to do like an artist edition for this, but this is taken from the original film. So when this was photographed back in the 80s, we've uncovered from our archive the original film, scanned it in, and this is basically as good as it gets. Well, Simon, do you want to tell us a little bit about your feelings on this new edition?
Oh, I hate it. Hey, listen, they dragged me out of the archives as well.
I asked for that.
How do I feel about it? No, how do I feel about it is, this has been my friend and companion all my professional life, because slaying has never gone away. It's always been basically in print. So we've seen all different guises, but there's always something new with it. This in particular is a particularly good issue, because it's been how would you describe it as, now this sounds weird, because it sounds like we really are ancient. But it's like when you get an old movie and what do you do with it? You
remaster.
You remaster it in a sense, you know. And it was remastered. The colours were enhanced. there was a lot of techniques that back in the day. There were I can't speak properly. Maybe I need some alcohol. But it's a bit like the old black and white movies. Now there's a technology that can realise the movie as it would have looked. There's a mechanism, the machine to do it now. And now on computer, all the colours can be enhanced and show what I really did at the beginning. The original book was actually printed on not very high quality paper, and a lot of the detail was missing. But I think, Michael, what did you say was taken someplace, some history of art or something? Or I'm just fantasising about how good my work is. Am I just eager boosting my work? It was taken somewhere. Someone said it was taken to some place that specialises in rejuvenating artwork or something, or just enhancing it, old stuff.
Oh, it would have been our in-house reprographics.
Oh, it's the same thing, isn't it? Just as good.
Yeah,
just as good. Yeah.
So
spread out eventually. Got there, didn't we? Yes, now we're gone.
You won't listen to this, but shout out to Joe Morgan, who's our lead reprographics guy, because this was not an easy job. So this is 4 colour transparencies, some of which don't match up, and some of which are degraded over the years, and he's done an absolutely incredible job. The thing that really gets me is there are things in this that no one's ever seen before who hasn't seen the original art.
And there's also things that I now remember, but I hadn't seen for years and years, what, 30 years?
Yeah.
Something, yeah. So, yeah, it's a bit like getting old movies and just... I think when we did this, there was no consideration for preservation. Like so many things, we didn't really particularly consider the future. But now, we can realise it as it was. It's enhanced it, mate. It actually made it look better. It makes me look better. And it's for sale.
One of the key challenges at the time and also now is your wildly different page sizes of the original artwork.
Well, that depends on if I was paid on time, or not paid on time, it's revenge. It's revenge. Depends how high the bills are piling up. Do you know what I mean? So if I was short, actually, interesting enough, doing work smaller actually is more fiddly. It's better to do something on a slightly larger scale. But when I was doing Slave, I was working in 2000 AD, the money I was getting to me was like a fortune, because I was working on as a forklift truck driver, a bricklayer, road digger, bastard, all those things, And then to get paid a page, wow, much just like a month's wages to me, or even more than that. So you really took a lot of time with your work, but I think as time goes by, you need to really kind of take a few shortcuts and, you start to got to deliver more work in a quicker period of time. What?
Did you get better paid on the American side or on the UK side?
No, it's difficult. This is political, isn't it? No, this is. Actually, got paid more 2000 AD. Actually, they paid me on time, ways of the time. Paid me very well, and I still get they paid me royalties as well. Always on time. It's very good. I bless them. Bless them. And they really looked after me. I mean, I was born from I was but Thar gave birth to me. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the way you're talking, it sounds like I've got a gun underneath this table.
I was looking for a bigger pay rise. The next thing I do, I'm just buttering you up, Michael. It's obvious.
Well, tell us a little bit about the genesis of the Horn God, because for those who don't know, Slain had been published for 5 or 6 years by this point. And you've got Glenn Fabry and Angie Kincaid, obviously, who co-created the character, Massimo Ballardinelli, Mick McMahon, and then this was the first time it went full colour. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be working on it and doing it in that style.
Well, I painted it basically because I couldn't really match anything else the other artists had done. The pen and ink style of Glenn Fabry is surpassable, I think, when he was really up there at his height. He's still up there now, but. I thought the only way to do this is to paint it, because I mean, Mahan, we both all agree is the man, really. But I thought with paint you can really disguise a lot of your things. You can't disguise things your inadequacies by just using more mood and atmosphere. You think about it. If you're going to pen and ink a sky, I'll just get some paint and spread it across, and make it all. Actually, the way I approach it, I just want him to go, oh my God, this is incredible. I want everything to look like a Rembrandt. Because I was young and I wanted to show off. I wanted to blow everybody away, that's the thing. I was a real big fan of Frazetta and Richard Corbin. And so they were my heroes, Richard Corbin, incredible. Exactly, yeah. So I was very excited to do. I mean, when I did the ABC Warriors before Slain, I made them more biomechanical than machine. Don't know if the ABC Warriors is 7 robots, warrior robots, and they're very mechanical, like road diggers, tanks, trucks, that kind of thing. But the human head, always Transformer style. But when I took it on, again, it's like, oh my God, these square blocks and shapes. I don't want to do that. So I just made it more biomechanical muscles and pistons and rams and stuff like that, you know. And that's remained. Actually, it's remained. It's still that look I gave it. It still remains now. Same with Slain. It's still got the same look because I was so good at what I did. I was such an energy. I'm wasted now. I have to now. But, you know. But no, I was very inspired then. Very inspired. So yeah, it was 2000 gig birthday. You know. I respect and love him for that. And it's great to be here for that reason.
Well, you mentioned earlier
By the book.
You mentioned
By the
earlier
book.
that
By the book.
This
By the book. Sorry, Michael.
That's my job. You mentioned earlier on this book has kind of followed you all the way through your career.
Yeah.
Has that been a blessing or a curse?
Well, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Because it's always putting in a new light. Because everyone who comes into comics and books is seeing it as fresh and seeing it as new. And Chloe mentioned that, and it was very interesting to me, because nothing already is old, because it's always new to somebody, you know. I mean, I was influenced by Richard, the great Richard Corman. I mean, he's one of the probably way, way out there, man, with brilliance, and Frank Frazetta. And so what they'll do, look at my work, and then look back at my inspirations. And then I go back to Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and Don Schiele, and they go into writers like Bronte's Wuthering Heights, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You still go into those kind of incredible stories, horror, drama, love, hate, all this kind of stuff, man. Because you know what I do, just translate into music, translate into everything. It's all one kind of organism, you know. What's in there? Anyway, sorry, Mike. There you go.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
I just set you off and you keep going. It's great.
Well, you know me. He knows once the wheels keep going, man. He'll stop.
If any of you were at the Spotlight panel that Simon did a few years ago, you'll have witnessed me basically asking 2 questions and him talking for an hour. So, you know.
Oh no, I'd love to be more polite. Well, I can go back to that, but we have limited time.
No, we're good. I want to come over to Gail now because if you've not picked up your copy of Misty, which is the excellent new horror anthology, which is out now and available from our booth, $10. It's
and you can't get it in the U.S. yet, so if you want it, you got to go.
There you go. Wonderful. It's nice to be supported by a panel in my messaging. It's great.
Times are hard. We're all hurting, Michael.
We know the deal.
And you out there, we're all of us.
Again, I have no weaponry under the table that I'm pointing at their knees or anything. Tell us a little bit about Misty, because for those of us sort of a certain age or even older in the UK, we remember it as something very specific from the 1970s. But tell us a bit about how you came to be involved and what Misty means to you.
That's a loaded question. Okay, so I have been asked to write a lot of female characters, and I have I've written a lot of female characters, and I, of all, when I first started, I started out wanting to prove that we could have a variety of females that had their own motivations, their own looks, their own body sizes, all of those things, that they didn't have to just be from one mold and have the same purpose in a story. So I've done a lot of that, which thank you guys for supporting that. It's my life. I love it. I can do it forever. But something when I got an email asking if I was interested in writing a Misty story, I didn't really know that much about her. I mean, I had seen it around, heard it, but I didn't know that much, and they sent material for me to look at. And my response was, no, I want to write all the Misty stories. Because I just fell in love with her character, and she was this like really cool, fashion-forward host of these horror stories, which I like. I'm a big fan of of that kind of thing in general. And so I thought, oh, this is really cool. And she didn't really appear in the stories per se. She just was kind of like a host that introduced them and would kind of, set them up a little bit. And that's how the first story in this anthology is, she starts out as a host, but I fell in love with her character so much and wanted to and was allowed to fill in a little bit as I went, more, adding layers to her. So we see her appear a little more in the stories that follow that. And I just think that, also she was a character that was designed for female readers specifically back in the 70s, which that really appeals to me a lot because, I was made fun of a lot for reading comics. It wasn't a girl thing to do. And anyway, so it's just really cool that in the UK they did this. And it turns out that, brothers and boyfriends and fathers and picked them up and read them and liked them too. And so she has this wide appeal. And I love horror, and I love telling these creepy, cool horror stories that are more on a psychological edge, not so violent, although there is some, I will have to admit, but the ones that psychologically linger in your brain, and that's what these are. And
we'll draw one.
Yes, please. You heard that, right? And they're sexy and creepy and all these things, just everything that I love. And I've been to the UK lots of times. I fell in love with it. I love going on the trains and seeing everybody read. We don't always see that here in the States. And one of the questions that was asked of me was, well, why did you set this one story in a pub? And I was like, oh, I have to talk about English pubs, because we don't really have that here. Yeah, you're so you're hearing it from my American perspective.
Oh, brilliant.
We have things that say they're pubs here, but they really aren't like what you get in the UK. And I've been in ones way out in the middle of nowhere that I literally sat down and looked around and thought, I believe in witches now. There's just such...
Keep by the park. Keep by the road. Keep by the light.
There's just such an atmosphere.
From the mirror.
There's just such an atmosphere. And then I've been in them in the big city of Dublin and where they're music forward and they're just very social. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't end up in pubs because of that. And I love going to the pubs in the UK because they're more than just, consuming the alcohol. Sorry.
You're called a lightweight. That's what I call lightweight. You're in America as well, lightweight. No, good for you, though.
I'm like a no-weight.
Good for you not drinking.
Don't worry, I'm corrupted in other ways.
Airweight, just empty glass and just look at Jenny.
But anyway, so I just fell in love with all of that, and you mix all that in with this Misty character, and Tula Lote really brought her to life in this cover, and I just, she's got the cool, sexy vibe there, and you could tell something's up, right? And then there's 3 short stories inside this anthology, and each story's drawn by a different artist. Not you, unfortunately. No, I'm kidding. Beautiful artists, all with their own style, and they're just very textured and layered, and they fit perfect to the story. And I can't imagine, or you can't imagine how happy I was seeing each page as it came in, because it's just something different. And I fell in love with all of it, and I'm just as excited about writing Misty as I am about writing X-Men. That's how much I like her character.
It's quite amazing to see seeing the page is quite an incredible thing. Where it comes from from the mind, and just what it is just pen and ink, pigments and your imagination. It all comes out into a page, obviously, but it is a great feeling, isn't it? To see it published and everything, it's out there, and if it's so.
Exactly. Couldn't say it better.
One of the people that was instrumental in Misty was Pat Mills, and he's been quite vocal about the meaning of Misty and providing not just entertainment for girls who are often ignored in the comic book world, and it's still the case today, but also working class stories.
Right.
And do you want to talk a little bit whether Pat's ethos was something that you drew on for this?
It is, and those things, not only the female character side of it, but the working class side of it, and I know a lot of times that in film and in lots of different media, we don't, and even publicly, we don't talk about poor and we don't talk about working class. You know, a lot of our fantastic superhero stories, it's just not really part of the design always. And so I like telling these really grounded, down to earth, dirty, you can really feel, you know, you can smell the pub, you can feel, you know, what's going on with the family dynamics and you know, all this little nitty gritty stuff that, you know, as much as I love telling superhero stories, it's a different vibe than this type of story where you can just really get in and tell a slice very detailed, and I love that.
How did you feel about the anthology format? Because it's not really something that is huge in the US, is it?
Well, it's funny that you say that
Oh, right.
because I freaking love anthologies. I love crossovers. I love all the weird formats, different formats we can do. I love it all. I wish anthologies sold better in the United States so that we could have more of them, because they're really fun to sit down and take a bite-sized read on a train, whatever, you know, type of thing, and you can get such variety of creative juices going in an anthology, but it's just not caught on in the way that I see it in the UK. And if you guys have chances to buy European editions of these comics, do it. They're just so gorgeous. It's just a completely different vibe than an American comic. Both good, both equally good, but they're just something to really treasure.
Does you know, this kind of links back to what I was talking to Hayden about. Does having a limited number of pages force you to write in a different way, or do you feel it natural?
Well, thankfully I didn't have to write this.
So I did.
But it does mean that like I have to make certain we're communicating a lot very efficiently. And thankfully, before this, I had been doing a fair bit of work with DC on like Batman anthologies, which of course it's Batman. He gets a lot of anthologies, lots of stories to tell. So I'd done a lot of like 8-page, 10-page things there. So I was pretty familiar with, you know, get in, get done, get out. And stuff, and making the most of like trying to get your big character shots, but you know, consolidate, make it a fourth of the page. Like you don't have a splash to work with. I don't know. It's a very different consideration to work with regularly. I'm certain.
Yeah. Well, for me as a writer, it's like when I construct a superhero story, usually there's like a huge overarching story with a lot of little stories happening in between that get resolved, you know, as you're going along in the huge story. These are definitely slice of life. You're seeing a very focused story, very focused time period, focused characters, all of it. And so, you know, comics, you always have to say a lot with a little, in my opinion. And so for me, it's always not the words that I choose, it's the words that I don't choose to put in there, because you have to be so economical. But with telling these shorter stories, it's like I said, you just get that moment, you know, in someone's life that you get to really delve into and tell in a short period of time. And I just wrote a prose novel, exact opposite. You get to really elaborate on the inner life of someone and where they're from and all those things, but this is just very pointed.
Do you become Misty? Do you like think of yourself as Misty? I mean, do you do that? Because I'm Slain and Lobo.
We could tell.
Do you know what I mean? Okay.
I do have a theater background,
Do you know what I mean?
so when I create characters, I do them in layers. I know from when they're born to where I'm writing them at, you know, where they are in that stage in their life. So I do have to really know that. I don't feel like I am Misty, but I feel like I know Misty. And,
Oh, that's
you
what
know.
I kind of meant, really. Just
Yeah.
You kind of like have to look at you have to find your own resource and your own experience. Not that I would write Misty. You know.
No, you said you were going to draw it.
It was selling in America.
You all heard.
It was selling in America if I did that. Yeah,
I mean, one of the things I want to touch on is allied to this point, which is we've got 3 creators here, all working for the same company, and you know, in a couple of cases exactly the same comic book, you know, but Misty is now part of the kind of 2080, the House of Sark, let's put it that way. But we've got horror, we've got fantasy with Slain, we've got sci-fi with Strontium Dog. And would you agree that that's the great strength of anthologies? You can, you know, you don't have to be wedded to one particular genre. You can just play around in all these different worlds.
I love it, and one reason why I love it is the unpredictability of it for the reader, because they don't know where it's going. And it's really hard, really difficult nowadays to really surprise a reader, because things get out on the internet, they get used to whatever the genre is expecting at the time and all that. And if you can bounce around and do crazy shit and people don't know what's coming, that's the best.
2008 has always been very experimental for artists and writers to play around with, and which is always interesting. It's like a grounding, almost like an art school or a theatre school where people take on acting and then go their separate ways. So yeah, it's important, more important than you think. Spawned a lot of great writers and artists, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Really has. Yeah.
And it's fun to
Like
see.
me.
I knew that was coming. There was a beat. He's going to say
Well, it's fun to see. As these stories continue, and like we have Judge Dredd has been running for so long, and like Strontium Dog has been like on and off, like comes back every once in a while, and these Slain continue, and they continue on, they stay in their genres, but then at least, I don't know, in my mind when I think of Judge Dredd, he is sci-fi, but he's kind of like, sci-fi is this gravitational orbit that he'll kind of try to pull out of sometimes, and he always comes back to sci-fi, but they stretch and pull at those things, so you can watch them evolve with time and kind of trade from each other within the anthologies and build, even though they're separate. It's fun to watch.
Just a comic. What's that thing? It's just a puppet.
It's one of those things that we had a copy of the Steve Dillon, the artist Steve Dillon Apex edition on the store. It lasted half an hour. It was like $100 and it just went. But the perfect example of that is there's a story in there, The Cry of the Werewolf, where there are werewolves in Mega City 1 in this, not now, in this disturbingly close dystopia.
20 years ago.
There's werewolves. And of course, Judge Death is one of the greatest horror icons in comics of all time. And then next week, Judge Dredd will be fighting the Wizard of Oz. And it's so adaptable. I mean, Gail, in terms of something like Misty, what was the process like? Was it just go and play, do your own thing? Was it a case of the editors kind of trusting you that you knew where you wanted to go?
Yeah, the editors trusted me. I just had ideas of little vignettes that I wanted to tell, and they were okay with it and got amazing artists to do it, and I think it's worked out pretty well. The one thing I was worried about a little bit is I did want her to play a bigger role, and I wasn't sure that was going to be allowed because that hadn't really been done in the past. And so I'm really grateful and happy that they allowed that, because I get to play even more with her character and give her a lot of texture.
This is the perfect time to exclusively announce, and you're the first people outside the company to know this, that Gail is writing a Misty miniseries. Possibly with Simon Bisley or not, who knows? Which will be out in the, and that's a 4-issue miniseries.
Yeah, that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah, which very much looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm super excited because, like I said, I love this character, and it's something different than what I've written before, and I'm really getting to dig into those horror roots that I have and love so much, and do it with a cool, sexy, beautiful, smart, well-dressed lady.
And maybe Simon Bisley.
She will have muscles.
Well, on that point, we have run out of time. So I want to say a huge, huge thank you. And I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have.
On sale, if you want to talk to my personally will deliver them.
That was my line. We're at booth 2121, so come down. Thanks very much. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that, Earthlets. It was great to be able to talk to Gail, Simon, and Hayden. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who came along to the panel. A lot more than we normally get at San Diego, so that was really lovely to see. On future episodes, we're going to have the horror and romance spotlight panel. Gail's on that one, and then we also have an unusual panel, which was Simon Bisley and Kevin Eastman of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fame, talking about the time that they worked together in the 90s and heavy metal comics and all that and the other. So that's something to look forward to. We shall see you in 2 weeks' time. And until then, Earthlets, take care of yourselves, keep reading 2000 AD, and Splendid Verthrig.
Yeah.